Hello friends. Welcome to our channel Movie Recap Tech. Today's film is Quiet Place 2, in which Lee Abbott, John Krasinski, drives into town and goes to a store to buy oranges. In the store, we see rocket space toys. The shopkeeper is watching the news, which is reporting on a spectacular bomb in China. Lee then walks down the street to a park where his wife, Emily Blunt, is pushing their youngest son, Beau, on a swing. The Abbotts have come to watch their eldest son Marcus play baseball. Lee sits on the stalls next to Regan, his deaf eldest child and only daughter, and greets his friend Emmett, Cillian Murphy, who is seated behind them with his youngest son. Emmett's eldest son hits a home run. As he runs to the final base, the crowd and Emmett are shouting "dive" because the fielders are close. Emmett then asks Regan how to say dive, and she makes a diving motion with her hands in American Sign Language. Beau and Evelyn wish Marcus luck at the plate. Marcus misses the first two balls and is then distracted by a large meteor in the sky. The game comes to an end, and everyone returns to their cars or homes. Regan goes with her father, and Evelyn takes the boys. However, the aliens have already arrived and have begun attacking the streets and killing a large number of people. After the events of A Quiet Place 1, in Quiet Place 2 the Abbott family leaves their home barefoot. By this point, Evelyn has given birth to a baby boy. Lee was killed protecting Marcus and Regan from an alien. The house is on fire and flooding, and Evelyn has just killed several aliens with the help of Regan's cochlear implant feedback noise amplified by a speaker, which weakens the aliens. Beau died on day 89 after taking a space rocket toy from the store at the start of A Quiet Place 1. The sound of the toy drew an alien who quickly attacked. Evelyn tells Marcus and Regan to stay there as she quietly returns to the flooded cellar and swims in search of an oxygen tank. Meanwhile, Regan tells Marcus she's going back to the house and leaves him with the baby. Regan gathers the amplifier and microphone. She cuts the amplifier's cord with her clipper. Regan and Evelyn return separately, and the family walks along the sandy path Lee had created until they reach the farthest point, at which point they quietly step onto the dry leaves and continue their journey. Evelyn and Regan are carrying the baby in a trunk that has been soundproofed with blankets, and the oxygen tank is feeding a baby respiratory mask so that the trunk lid can be closed. In movie Quiet Place 2 you will see that the family arrives at a wire fence with an opening. As Evelyn walks through, her bag becomes entangled and a small sound is made. She looks behind her, concerned about the noise, and unknowingly triggers a tripwire, causing a bundle of bottles to fall and jangle. Evelyn says to Marcus and Regan, "Run." Meanwhile, we cut perspective to a fixed gun aim on the family. An alien begins to pursue the family. Marcus is injured by a bear trap while running, which he handles silently until he notices his injured foot and lets out a primal scream. Evelyn tries to calm him down, while Regan creates unbearable feedback for the alien using the amp microphone and cochlear implant hearing aid. Evelyn shoots the alien in the head as it struggles against the sound. The family in Quiet Place 2 enters a nearby derelict building. As they walk around a corner, a man grabs Evelyn, puts his hand over her mouth, and signals SHH while pointing to an alien on the ceiling. The man leads the family to an underground soundproof vault. The towel draped over the vault's latch reduces noise and keeps the latch from locking the door from the inside. He sets a timer on a stopwatch and, after a few minutes, opens the door to let in some fresh air. When he is safe, he informs the family that they cannot stay because there is insufficient food and water. Evelyn recognizes the man and asks, "Emmett?" To which Emmett removes his scarf and baseball cap, revealing his face. He reiterates that they will not be able to stay. Evelyn inquires about Emmett's children, and he explains that his sons died on day 1. Evelyn inquires about Lola, his wife. He explains that Lola died 11 weeks ago, that she became ill, and that they moved down to the soundproof basement of this derelict warehouse once the pain became unbearable and she began screaming. "I couldn't do enough," says Emmett. Evelyn wonders if Emmett saw Lee's fires every night and if he knew it was him. Lee Emmett claims he did. Evelyn wonders why he didn't come looking for them, given that they were friends. In A Quiet Place 1, the Abbott family had not received any contact from anyone and had not heard any radio signals despite searching and searching. Very few survivors remained on Earth. Emmett explains that the people who left you don't know, do you? They're not people worth saving. Regan gestures and whispers to Emmett, "You're nothing like him, Lee." Regan in movie Quiet Place 2 walks over to her brother, who is lying down to rest after having his ankle painfully dressed, in the vault to mute his screams. Regan hands Marcus headphones and starts playing radio white noise while scrolling through the frequencies. Marcus bolts upright when he hears music. Evelyn rushes over when Regan stops turning the dial. Marcus says, "Music." And Evelyn listens. She turns to Emmett, who explains that it's just the song Across the Sea on loop, and that's all it ever does. Regan indicates that he is a liar by telling her mother, "Dad would have heard it, he would have told us." Emmett explains that you can't hear that signal down in the valley, where the Abbotts lived, and that he and Lola only discovered it when they moved up here. Regan determines that the signal is coming from a nearby island, about a day's walk away. Marcus is awakened in the middle of the night, and they go to the soundproof vault to talk. Regan tries to persuade Marcus to help her find a way to the radio tower by following railway tracks to the coast and then finding a boat. She wants to get to the station so she can use it to transmit the high-frequency noise produced by her hearing aid. This reveals the aliens' flaws. As a result, anyone, including the family, can use a radio to play the high-pitched noise and protect themselves from the aliens, a significant step toward a better way of life. Marcus is worried and does not want Regan to leave. Regan insists she must try because that is what her father would have done. Regan is forced to go out on her own very early in the morning after Marcus threatens to tell Mom, Evelyn. She leaves a note on the radio that says, "Keep listening in movie Quiet Place 2." After discovering that Regan has left, Evelyn begs Emmett to go after her and bring her back. He eventually agrees when Evelyn says she wishes Lee was here to look him in the eyes and tell him Regan is exactly the type of person worth saving. Meanwhile, Regan comes across a train station with a derailed train and climbs aboard the front carriage, which is the only one still on the train track. There are several dead bodies and skeletons. She requires a first aid kit, which she finds in the driver's seat, but she is unable to open the door. She eventually reaches the box and takes it, but the skeleton of the deceased driver falls on her, scaring her and causing her to scream. An alien soon arrives, and Regan is trapped, struggling to hold the hearing aid to the microphone in one hand while operating the shotgun in the other. Fortunately, Emmett arrives and shoots the creature. They seek refuge in a nearby station office, fearing that the noise will attract more aliens. Emmett explains that he has come to take her home. Regan is dissatisfied and says, "What home?" Regan explains her plan to Emmett, saying that before his wife died, there was nothing he could do, but now there is. Emmett agrees to assist her in completing the mission. Back at Emmett's base, Evelyn must leave Marcus and the baby to get the supplies they require: medicine for Marcus's foot and more oxygen tanks for the baby, for when the baby is in the trunk. Marcus is terrified and doesn't want her to leave. Evelyn explains that his foot will deteriorate and that she cannot lose him as well. Marcus understands and lets her go. She returns to the sand path and takes the same route she and her family take to get to the store, where Lee bought oranges on day 1. Along the way, she passes the bridge where Bo died, which has been turned into a makeshift shrine. She sobs as she touches the photographs and places her wedding ring on top of the cross. Marcus returns to base after putting the baby to sleep and exploring the compound. The camera pans to the baby's oxygen tank, the gauge for which is in the red zone because it is running low. As Marcus makes his way upstairs, he comes across a room covered in drawings of Emmett's sons. He discovers a dead body half-compassed, likely Lola, lying in a bed behind some curtains separating a section of the room. This startles him, and he inadvertently knocks a few objects over, alerting a nearby alien to his location. He dashes back to the basement, grabs the baby, and places him in the vault. He then steps out to grab the stopwatch and radio, and as the alien approaches, he is able to enter the vault and close the door. Marcus is unaware that the towel is not over the latch, and the door locks shut. By nightfall, Emmett and Regan have arrived at some docks and are looking for a boat that will take them to the island. They come across a little girl at the end of the pontoon. Emmett approaches her, and she quickly encircles him in a noose. Several feral people appear, tying netting with bottles around Emmett and searching Regan for supplies. They take her hearing aid and rucksack full of supplies, then begin to lead her away. Emmett signals dive to Regan, then wriggles open the netting, making a lot of noise, and grabs the man who stole Regan's hearing aid. Several aliens appear and attack the docks, killing a number of savages. Emmett is still holding the man, and an alien appears to attack as a result of the noise made by the bottles. Emmett jumps into the water, and the alien kills the feral man. When the alien hears Emmett swimming in the water, it jumps after him, only to drown, because it cannot swim. Emmett is still bound to the dock and struggling to free himself from the noose around his neck. Regan's hand reaches out to him as a small boat passes by. He boards the ship and opens his mouth to reveal Regan's hearing aid. They untie the noose, and we see their boat heading to the island. In movie Quiet Place 2, you will also see an alien is stranded on top of a boat that is detached from the docks during the chaos. Marcus is struggling to breathe and notices from his watch that he needs to open the door. He struggles with the door and eventually, distraught, gives up. When he opens the baby's trunk, he finds the baby screaming. With a pained expression, he begins sharing the baby's oxygen until he falls asleep. Meanwhile, Evelyn returns to the compound with the supplies, and an alien lets out a loud cry. She attempts to blow up the alien with an oxygen tank, but the alien escapes unharmed. The explosion, however, activates the fire sprinklers. The sound of the sprinklers aids Evelyn in navigating around the alien and returning to the basement. However, the alien pursues her. Evelyn hides inside the bunker with Marcus and the infant, while the alien waits outside the door for them. Regan and Emmett approach the island, where they discover a colony of people living normal lives after isolating themselves on the island. When the government realized the creatures couldn't swim, the National Guard sent as many people as possible to the islands. However, one of the creatures makes it to the island on another boat and kills several civilians. However, they entice the creature to follow them inside the radio station. The alien eventually hears Regan and Emmett and slashes Emmett with its claws. However, as it pertains to Regan, she is able to change the sound coming from the station from the song to the noise her hearing aid produced, weakening the creature and eventually killing it with a pole. Marcus, who picked up the signal via radio, also uses the noise to weaken the creature before shooting it dead, allowing anyone to now kill the creatures. I hope you like it. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for updates of new upcoming movies and recaps. You can also request for any movie recap by just a simple comment.